I'm alive. It's a little rough. It's not too pretty yet, but I am alive. Oh, the past few days have not been fun, gang. I am here to tell you. So, would you like to hear the story? Last week, my husband he went to work on Monday, came home, everything was normal. But early in the wee hours of Tuesday morning, I noticed he was just kind of getting up and down, and he was acting like he was uncomfortable, and he kept saying that his back was hurting, and he suddenly was spiking a fever. So he calls into work thinking, oh well, it's just his turn for the flu. I mean, it happens. But then he just gets to feeling funny as the day wore on. I mean, he just couldn't get back to sleep, and he was feeling achy as well as feverish and congested. So he took one of those little home tests, and guessed it, he popped positive for the good old Rona. Now, before this, we actually had thought that maybe we had already caught the coronavirus, COVID in its early stages, way back in late 2019. I mean, like December-ish, because we remembered we had both had a couple of weeks where we were just deathly ill. I mean, we were still going to work because this was pre-COVID, and so everyone still went to work when they were sick. But, we were both coughing up lungs and being miserable and all this other stuff. And we live in a college town, and we have a lot of students from overseas. So it was perfectly possible that may have been visiting family. And when they came back, they, unwittingly just, introduced the virus into the community. I mean, things like that happen all the time. I just, that's just how it is. So we thought we'd already had it. But based on what we experienced the past few days, I don't think we actually did, because this time he knew for sure that he had COVID. I didn't take a test, but I got sick a few days after he did. So, I mean, I just figured, of course, that's what I got too. But it felt different. Now, thankfully, I did not get it as bad as he did. I didn't, because he had this whole body achy, just not enough painkiller in the world to make the pain stop kind of aching. I never got that part. Yay for me. But I did get this weird up and down thing with the fever. My fever would spike, it would go down. I'm like, okay, well, the fever's broken. That's all well and good. And then it would spike up again. Then I had the congestion and the really, this really deep rooted sense of exhaustion, which, was really not fun at all. And so things just carried on like that. Um, but I mean, we're all right now. He went back to work today. I'm not 100% yet. My voice is still pretty rough, and you can probably tell from how I sound that I've still got some congestion issues, but on the whole, I'm on the mend. But yeah, so that was COVID. On the one hand, that wasn't pleasant. That was not comfortable. 0 out of 5 stars. But on the other hand, was it so much worse than other illnesses I've experienced? I mean, if I'm being honest, no. I mean, I've had colds that I would think were worse. I've definitely had flus that were worse. But it was still a really peculiar illness. It just didn't feel natural. It wasn't reacting the way that just that because with the normal respiratory kind of illnesses, you kind of know the pattern that it goes. First you get a little puny, a little sniffly, and things go on, and then you're miserable for a little while, and it gets to its peak, and then it tapers off, and then, on tail end, that's when you really wonder if it's ever going to end, as you're always fussing with, throat lozenges and tissues and all that other stuff. But that's the general pattern of things. But COVID was very different for me. It didn't quite go in that way. It didn't have this, steady rise to the worst of it and then downward slant. No, it's just kind of been up and down. And I felt pretty good yesterday. Uh, Today I'm feeling a little bit more tired, but I also didn't sleep too well last night, so that could just be that. But yeah, that's what happened to us. But I mean, it wasn't really much to write home about. I mean, we took our Mucinex, we ate our chicken noodle soup. I took the precaution of making a huge pot of homemade chicken noodle soup when my husband first got ill, because I knew I would probably be following him in a few days, and we just kind of ate on that as we got better. Drank. endless amounts of fluids and rested and just took it easy. I mean, and that was just kind of that. I, I know some people get it bad, but it's just, I'm at the point now with this virus where I cannot relate. Knowing that I've experienced now, I really do not understand people's fears. I don't understand why there seems to be an effort to ramp up a fear of, COVID mutation, whatever, because I've been seeing, little few things in the news here about COVID, a few things in the news there. And then out of nowhere, I started noticing that the commercials on YouTube channels, all of a sudden they featured people with masks in them. And I thought, well, isn't that interesting? Especially since the science on what masks do not do has been reaffirmed, but I wonder if there'll be a change in community guidelines about what we are and are not allowed to say about that in the not too distant future. I mean, who knows? But I mean, really, you don't panic. You don't stress out about it. You let your body do its thing. And that's what my husband and I always plan to do. Because when this whole scare started, we like, well, if we get it, we'll treat the symptoms. If we get too bad, then we'll go off to a doctor and we'll just see what needs to happen then. But we reacted very, very calmly, and we reacted very calmly now. And so, especially people, because by now we've had a lot of people who've had it multiple times. I get it. It sucks, but are we going to act like we've never experienced illness before? Is this really our first rodeo with, I'm sick for a little while and it was unpleasant and I didn't like it? I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's just this whole COVID psychosis that is making people convince themselves that they suffer with it more than they do, or if it's just the scare tactics from the media, or if it's just that pointless Dr. Fauci who did his best to just scare people left and right while he got his 15 minutes of fame in the sun. Oof. I could I could do a whole video on my thoughts about Dr. Fauci, I'm here to tell you. But I don't know. I don't know, people. How many of you have had it? Were you terribly impressed? Because as illnesses go, I was not. Especially when I consider now that when I think about how the hospitals and doctors were treating COVID before now, and the things that they were doing, and now they've admitted later on, oh, maybe intubating people wasn't actually the right thing to do. Maybe forbidding people from getting outside and getting some fresh air wasn't the right thing to do. How much of this was made needlessly worse? I'm just saying. So anyway, I think that discussion is for other stuff. I want to finish my tea. I am back in the saddle again. I've recorded a Tuesday video, 2 of my Wednesday videos. I'm going to try to get back on schedule. I'm going to try to catch up on the videos I wasn't able to make just because I was down and out. But we'll just have to see how things go, see what my energy levels are like. I don't like being thrown off schedule. I think I am more annoyed by this experience than anything else. It has seriously pissed me off. I keep a pretty good schedule, and I was in a nice rhythm and flow, and this just screwed that all up. So we'll just see what happens now. But wanted to let you know I'm alive. See you guys later.